Good morning. We are with our friends at Visible Music College live with Dr. Ken. I am Amy Speropolous, and I'm so excited because we're talking about another great thing today. And specifically, let's talk about and really get deep into this topic. Should a musician get paid to worship or lead worship?
Great question, and good morning.
Good morning.
I'm going to put myself out on the line here today with
Yes.
this topic.
Oh, I love it.
You know, all the worship leaders who are well paid and living the lifestyle of the rich and famous out there are going to have trouble with what I say today.
Well, hey, you know, let's get to the truth, man. Let's do it. It's okay. It's okay.
Well, but seriously, people should be paid for their work, right? So
Yes.
That's great. That's great. So one thing, people should be paid for their work. Another thing is, if you're leading worship, you should not have to get paid to lead worship.
Okay.
Because we might just decide, hey, let's have a worship time right here.
Right.
Just us and the crew, let's worship in here. Do I need to get paid every time I strum a guitar?
Yeah.
Every time I'm called in to do something? It's a great question, so I'm going to answer it poorly today. But I think a person who's called to the worship ministry,
Okay.
who is actually like they're going to do it. I think they, in their church context, local church, I think they should be available and ready to lead worship for a group without compensation.
Okay.
I do believe that. And I think, like, for instance, I play guitar, I can lead worship, have a small group at my church. Hey, we need some worship for this night. I said, hey, I'd love to do that. I'm part of the church.
Yeah.
This is a community. I'm going to lead worship.
Okay.
But we've moved from that being the dominant sort of scenario to 20 years later, people are being hired from, headhunters, grabbing people out of churches, taking them off the road, out, putting them in. Obviously,
Sure.
They should be paid for a job, that there's a job description. And
Yeah.
they may not want to be paid for it, because then you're going to end up doing all the other stuff you don't know worship leaders are required to do at churches. So be careful watching that. Be careful what you wish for. You might be doing more than you wish you got paid for. But so that's my way around it. I think a willing heart, ready to serve, part of the community, be in a family, visit another church, play music, be ready to serve, and then people will compensate you, or you don't have to go back, I guess.
Right.
But we're still in that phase where some people are in a position where they're being taken advantage of because they haven't got used to paying the worship leader yet. They've paid all the other people, but they haven't paid the musicians yet. And then others are in big time, actually pretty well paid roles.
Right.
So what we do around Visible is, elicit that community involvement and the willingness to serve, and find your calling and go for it. And then you're being trained, and you're spending a lot of money to be trained to do this thing. So you should find a job at a church,
Right.
And then you should love the church like you were not getting paid.
Yeah,
How about
that?
that?
That's a very good way to say it. And the landscape of that has changed so much, because when I was growing up, we had truly choirs, and now that the days of that are sort of going away, and they are going more towards a band and a worship leader and things like that. So the trajectory of it is changing. So going off of what you just said, what is the ideal budget for a musician for, like, say, a Sunday morning worship service?
Well, this is another tough one. Everybody's going to have an opinion online, that's everyone who's hearing this. I would say it goes up about $50 every decade.
Oh, wow. Okay, yeah.
It's sad to say, zero in the 90s, $50 a week, 15 years ago, $100 a week 5 years ago, and we're in the 150. Now, I know people that make $400 a week, called in, sit on the drums, play that.
Wow.
And that's their job, and hey, that's actually decent money. And so obviously this would change market to market, but
church size to church size?
Yes,
Does that? Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
But I think the smaller churches need to understand that big churches are paying a lot of money now. I would say $150 for a young player to come play those parts. And if it gets to be too many of those people, they start having the tracks cover a number of different positions and only hire 3 or 4 players.
Right.
So it's a balance. I would say $100 a week and you're spending a couple hours at rehearsal, a couple hours at service, it's $25 an hour. It's good money for a young person, getting going. And then you show up and show yourself, approved, and good. Then you'll start being a candidate for a real long-term job,
Yeah.
But, $25 an hour anywhere in the world is a decent start for a musician. And again, I know the ranges from, we just had 4 days of rehearsals and 8 hours of services and I get $50. That's a problem.
Yeah.
And then the other end of it is, $400 to come in and play 3 songs. Look, if you have the budget, I like musicians being paid, so that's fine.
Yeah.
But probably I would say $150 is the new
average.
$15 an hour.
Okay.
$150 a week.
Yeah.
I'll just stake my claim there and see what happens.
That's good. I like that. So let's talk about how much training should a person expect for a worship musician. I mean, are we talking,
Well, I'm Dr. Ken at Visible Music College.
You are Dr. Ken.
So I'm going to say they need a bachelor's degree to even get on stage, to even sniff the stage. They need a bachelor's degree. But I don't really believe that. Ultimately, a musician should have a life of learning. Just like if you're going to be serious about it and somebody is paying you, you are now a professional. You're being paid to do music. You should work the rest of your life knowing music and being able to lead people in it, explain it, be reasonably, experienced in music.
Sure.
So I love the idea of the 3-year bachelor's degree we do because it's very experiential. You get the BA, which a lot of people, you can fall back to anything and any job, just having a bachelor's degree.
Yes.
And it's a reasonable investment of those 3 years when you're eagerly learning and you get, so it's the experience and the knowledge and the degree in the end. So even if you don't get a bachelor's degree from Visible, which will severely limit your opportunities in the future, you should spend 3 years training, really listening to a lot of music, playing in a variety of churches, gaining knowledge, being on tour if you have an opportunity to do some traveling with the church band or something like that. And 3 years is where I start thinking most people understand their job.
Yeah.
It takes 2 years to really, you think not. You think you got it.
Absolutely. No, yes, it does.
Maybe 2 years in, you're starting to be like, oh, I didn't know this until now. And so I'd say 3 years of training and get a BA.
Very good. From Visible.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
How does Visible serve the local church with or for musicians?
Well, we have a lot of musicians, and they're young people that don't have the 3 years experience yet. And we love to have them connect with a local church, whether it's in Memphis, Chicago, Dallas, any of our sites. They would go as the sound person or as a vocalist or a keyboard player to a church, and usually that church would do anything from, put them in a discipleship group and feed them lunch on the low end to a little bit of money per week and little gas money. So we serve the local churches. Hundreds of churches have had our students on stage.
That's awesome.
And those students need that experience, but they also want a little bit of money for their pay for their school and pay for food and stuff. And then what we can do and have done for some churches is the musicians that are there, even if the church is unrelated to Visible, we could just come, we could send faculty, staff people, a young band to come alongside and teach them while they're at their church. Some of the volunteer musicians, teach them how to play together, teach them a little bit of the reason for worship, theology of worship, a little bit of working together as a band. We teach musicians to be leaders and to work with the pastor, and not be just the crazy people in the church. We would love to come train churches, any location, send some folks, maybe do a little conference together, maybe train the young bands in the youth ministry. Maybe there's some rock bands or DJs or somebody that wants training. That's what we do every day. We serve churches, we serve their musicians that way, and their audio people.
And getting that hands-on experience, I would imagine, is so very important.
Yes. You will immediately see the freshmen at Visible who've been doing this even 2 or 3 months. They'll go home and they'll realize, wow, I've done way more than I thought because I'm practically doing it.
Wow.
And they'll become, at 19, they'll be the people who know more than a lot of musicians on the team.
That's
And
fabulous.
just keep going. It gives a little empowering,
Absolutely.
And I like to get people out there teaching what they know in order to, you just learn, you solidify what you believe while teaching.
Sure. And that self-confidence that it would
Yeah.
give. Ooh, that's big.
Yes, a lot of musicians don't talk about music very much, and they don't explain what they're doing. They just sort of are expected to be amazing.
Right.
Flow. Okay, you just woke up today singing and melodies.
Yes.
It's like, no, talk about your songs, talk about the theology behind
Love
it.
that.
Get a little bit of education and be expressive in a lot of ways, not just while you're on stage.
It makes people much more endearing, I think, and real. And when we
Yes.
can talk about life experiences that we've had and how that relates to the music that we're doing today.
Yes. Yes.
So, and you know what? I would be remiss if I didn't mention our fabulous sponsors today, Evolve Bank and Trust, and there's another one, Duncan Williams, Asset Manager.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So it's fabulous. So we're so grateful to our partners that help us continue to do what we do.
Yes.
And again, this is Live with Dr. Ken.
Right.